Have you ever started recording and then you realize that something was messed up, and so you recorded an entire video and you go and watch it and there's nothing there? Well, that just happened to me. So let's try this again. I will be restating everything that I said, trying to remember it. But honestly, I feel like sometimes things aren't meant to happen the first time because maybe the second time around it's meant to be better. So let's see if that's the case here. Like I said, I don't know what I said because I can't hear it. um and actually I can't even see myself either, so the recording was happening but you can't hear or see anything. I don't know what happened there. Maybe pre-Mercury retrograde or something like that. But anyway, I'm reporting live from Medellin, Colombia, and let me tell you something about your environment and why that is so important to our growth. I've lived in several different states. I've gone to several different destinations, some that I will be going back to, and some that I haven't been to yet. And I notice that in each space, I feel a little bit differently. It's not like I'm looking for a home outside of myself, but as human beings, we should be in an environment that aligns with who we are, who we want to be um, within. And so when you're in that space, you just tend to flow naturally. And this is kind of what I feel like a lot of people are seeking, but they find blockages for the simple fact that they're not in the place that they're meant to be. And this, you can look deeper into this. If anyone is into astrology, there is a form of astrology called astrocartography, and you upload your birth chart and it'll pull out a map. I believe it's astro.com, and it'll basically tell you where on the planet you would be best, where you would basically fit in the best, or it'll give you your lines and your patterns, and it'll tell you what each area, how it affects your being. And so for me, living most of my life in the southeast of the United States, had this feeling of always putting others first and not really giving myself the time and the attention that I needed in order to help my projects or myself develop. So, personal development, spiritual development was really hard to do in these spaces. I progressed a lot, but it wasn't until I came to Colombia maybe a few months ago last year and I stayed for a while that I realized, wow, like this is what I need. Something about this space feels really good. Something about this energy makes me feel like putting myself first and like living this childlike in this childlike way. So I had decided when I got back to the States that I'm going to make a plan somehow, some way to get back there for a long period of time so I can really focus in on myself and my own personal growth. So here I am, and I'm telling you, it's only been a few days, but I just feel the potential, and it's not like kinetic potential, or it's not potential that's just sitting within anymore. It's potential that is slowly and actively working its way out into a very creative form. And I now have this sense of focus because it was focus that got me to where I am actually right now. It was me going, on a trip a few months ago, coming back home and deciding I'm going to make that my new reality. And so I set out to take certain steps in order to make it happen. And I'm not going to make this video about exactly what I did. If you're interested in knowing how to go after that environment that you're being called towards, I can make a whole separate video on the real world steps that I took to do that. But this video is about awareness of your current environment. Is it conducive to what you are trying to do in your life? Does it feel like you're in alignment? Do things feel like they are happening for you in the best way possible, or are they happening for you to kind of get you to wake up and realize, like, hey, something is off here? And that doesn't necessarily just have to be the state or the country or the city that you live in. It can also be the job that you're working in, the space that you're living in. So whether this be your apartment, is it cluttered? Is there energies around you that you no longer need to be around? I would start there, taking inventory of those sort of things, and then going beyond and seeing, last worst case scenario, or not even, it's not even a worst case scenario, but the last thing you want to come to the conclusion of is the fact that you have to get up and move your entire life somewhere overseas or whatever the case is. And I do wish that for most people, because that is exactly what they need for expansion and to have that reflective mirror on themselves, by seeing other cultures, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and those sort of things. It allows you to see yourself much better, and it allows you to grow more than you would have if you were stuck in a specific environment. There's a book called The Biology of Belief, and I forget who it's by, but maybe I'll drop it in the description down below. And in the first couple of chapters, it's a very scientific book. I got it because I thought it was going to be a little more spiritual, but I think I needed that book to show me, from a more logical and scientific standpoint, the effects that our environment has on everything we do. You put a cell into a specific environment, that cell is going to adapt whatever circumstances are around it, and there's literally no stopping it. It is what it is. And so the only way to stop that cell from absorbing whatever was in its environment was to take it out of that environment and place it into a new one. So there were a lot of experiments done within this book that basically shows, once a cell becomes aware, aka once we remove the cell from the diseased petri dish, for example, and we place it into a petri dish where the other cells were thriving, or where the other cells were happier, or healthier, whatever the case is, or energetically aligned in vibration, in tune with nature, whatever examples you want to use. Once that cell was placed into that environment, it began to absorb that environment, into its own cellular structure. And that's how we are as humans. We absorb what is around us, whether we know it or not. So it happens on a conscious and a subconscious level. I like to take this even further and go into social media. You are what you consume, and if you're viewing a lot of toxicity, then your mind becomes clouded with that. If you're viewing a lot of pessimistic messages or fear-mongering propaganda, you begin to absorb all of that. So your environment isn't just where you're living. Your environment is everything that's around you. Becoming aware of how that's affecting you and then taking the necessary steps to change it is your job and your mission. And I know that there's so many extenuating circumstances, but a lot of the I can't do this because is based on fear and not based on truth. And so begin there. If you have a fear of leaving because you think X, Y, and Z will happen, well, how can you work to make sure that that doesn't happen? Or how can you change that belief? Because at the end of the day, it's just a limiting belief. And again, beliefs aren't truths. So it's a mindset thing for sure. And if you're someone like I was, who was told most of your life that you can't do certain things, yet deep down believe that you can, you wouldn't have these dreams if they weren't possible, just so you know. But if you're one of those people who feel as though you can't do something because someone else told you to, you might want to start there first. You want to start with telling yourself that, yes, you can indeed actually do this because other people have, and other people are doing it very well. So why can't I? We're all one. So if my belief is that if I see someone else was able to do something and I want to do it, I can definitely for sure do it. It's just a matter of time. So I'm going to leave it there, but I really hope that this message comes to you when you need it the most. And if you know someone who this message might benefit, feel free to share that with them and leave a comment down below on your own current experiences with your environment as we speak. You know, how are you feeling in your both your internal and your external environment? Leave a comment down below. And as always, thank you guys so much.